Welcome back, my weirdlings. We have stepped into quarter 2 of Raven's Lorecast, the season of thresholds. If quarter 1 was about origins, about where we come from, quarter 2 is about crossing. Crossing out of what no longer fits, crossing toward what is becoming, crossing the quiet line between survival and alignment. You don't have to be perfect to cross. You only have to be willing. So wherever you're listening from, I'm glad you're here. Because this quarter, we are not chasing perfection. We are practicing becoming. All right, weird ones. Wit, wisdom, witchcraft. Let's begin. Welcome to episode 15. Take a breath with me. In and out. Good. Because tonight we're stepping into the kind of magic that doesn't sparkle, it hums. Low, deep, ancient. The magic of descent. This episode is for the ones who have felt something shifting under the surface. For the witches who keep saying, I'm fine, while their bones whisper, no, you're not, and it's time to stop pretending. Every spiritual path has a moment when the light feels thin, when the surface world starts to feel too small, when the old version of you begins cracking like an eggshell. That's not failure. That's the invitation. And tonight, we're walking it with two of the most powerful guides the ancient world ever gave us. Persephone, the goddess who stepped into the underworld and rose as queen. And Inanna, the goddess who passed through 7 gates, was stripped bare, and still returned crowned. Different mythologies, different languages, different worlds, same archetypal truth. You descend as one thing, you return as another. And you don't need a literal underworld to know this story. You've lived your own descent, the loss you didn't see coming, the relationship that hollowed you out, the burnout you kept pushing through, the grief that rearranged your inner architecture, the identity you outgrew but kept wearing like a costume. You've had moments where the door closed behind you and the light didn't follow. So here's the part most people won't say out loud. Descent isn't punishment. Descent is initiation. It's the moment the bright world, the performative world, stops being enough. The underworld isn't where you go to disappear. It's where you go to stop lying to yourself. It's where you meet the parts of you that got denied, dismissed, or dimmed to keep the peace. The too much parts, the too tender parts, the queer, neurospicy, wild, witchy, hungry parts, the parts that don't want to be fine anymore. Persephone didn't stay the maiden forever. Inanna didn't stay the sacrificed body. Both of them walked through something that stripped away who they were told to be, so they could rise as they truly were. Underworld magic isn't about suffering. It's about revealing. It's the moment you stop negotiating with your own becoming. So as we walk with Persephone and Inanna tonight, hold this one question close. What part of me is ready to rise, but needs me to descend and retrieve her first? Because rising isn't an accident. It's a choice, a claiming, a remembering. All right, weird ones, let's get down into the myth. Tonight, we're walking into one of the oldest initiation stories human beings have ever told: the descent, the underworld journey, the stripping, the breaking, the bone deep transformation. And our guides tonight are two of the most powerful queens in world mythology: Persephone from ancient Greek cosmology, and Inanna from ancient Sumer in the region of modern-day southern Iraq. Two women, two cultures, two worlds, but the same truth vibrating beneath both stories. Descent is not destruction. It's metamorphosis. And before we go any further, we say this plainly and respectfully. These myths come from real peoples, real places, real lineages. We honor them with care, accuracy, and humility. We pronounce the names correctly. We resist Western flattening, and we don't treat sacred stories like props. That's not being sensitive. That's being ethical. Now, onward. Persephone is often reduced to a seasonal symbol, a maiden, a victim, a springtime mascot. But the older versions of her story carry a deeper truth. Persephone is not simply taken. She is initiated. She crosses a boundary that changes her forever. And when she returns with authority. Because the underworld doesn't make her less. It reveals what she already was. And that's the first underworld lesson. You don't descend because you are weak. You descend because the surface version of your life can no longer hold the truth of you. Persephone becomes queen of the underworld because she can stand in darkness without losing herself. She can hold grief without collapsing. She can hold power without apologizing. She can hold truth without flinching. That's not victimhood. That's sovereignty. And it's important we say this carefully. Persephone's myth has been told in many versions across time. Different poets, different eras, different cultural lenses. But the archetype underneath remains consistent. The descent changes the shape of the self. You don't come back untouched. You come back crowned. Now we turn to ancient Sumer, to one of the earliest civilizations on Earth, and to one of the most powerful mythic texts ever preserved: Inanna's descent to the great below. Inanna is queen of heaven, a goddess of love, war, sexuality, justice, and political power. And she does something that still shocks people when they first hear it. She chooses to descend. The text says, "From the great above, she set her mind to the great below." That is not the voice of someone dragged. That is the voice of someone deciding. Someone stepping into transformation with open eyes. Inanna enters the underworld through 7 gates, and at each gate she is stripped. Her crown, her necklace, her breastplate, her rings, her robes, her symbols of power and protection. And these are not accessories. They are identity, status, authority, the external proof that she matters, until she is reduced to the one thing no title can protect: her naked truth. This is the underworld initiation in its purest form. No mask, no performance, no spiritual ego, no role to hide behind. Just her. just what's real. And when she reaches the throne room of the underworld, she meets Arishkagal, queen of the great below, immense with grief and power. And Inanna is killed. Her body is hung on a hook. It is brutal. It is symbolic. It is the mythic language of ego death and transformation. And then she rises. Not because she muscled her way back, but because the world cannot stay out of balance forever. Because devotion matters. Because community matters. Because love and loyalty carry medicine through the dark. And she does not return unchanged. She returns initiated. Persephone and Inanna are from different worlds, but their stories rhyme. And that rhyme is the thing your bones recognize. Descent, stripping, confrontation, truth, death of an identity, return with power. The underworld is not a place you go because you're being punished. It's a place you go because something inside you demands honesty. It's where the parts of you that got buried come back to be reclaimed. The voice you swallowed, the boundaries you didn't hold, the hunger you were taught to be ashamed of, the truth you softened so other people could stay comfortable. The underworld is not the place you lose yourself. It's the place you find the pieces you had to hide to survive. And once you retrieve them, you cannot go back to being small. That's why queens rise from descent, because queenship is not sparkle, it's integration. Persephone doesn't return to the world as the same girl but wiser. She returns as a ruler of two realms. Inanna doesn't return as healed and harmless. She returns as someone who has died, seen truth, and refused to stay dead. And here's what that means for you, weird ones. If you have survived a descent, grief, heartbreak, burnout, identity collapse, loss, betrayal, awakening, you are not broken. You are initiated. And initiation always comes with a crown. Not the kind you wear for attention, the kind you wear because you have earned your own truth. Because here's the thing. The ancients didn't separate myth from sky. They understood that what happens above reflects what happens within. And tonight, the sky is going to echo this exact story. A moon that moves through deep waters. A crown forged from devotion and discipline. A messenger hidden in glare. A world that shifts forward toward springlight. So take a breath, weird ones, because we're about to step out of the myth and look up. Tonight's sky isn't doing the gentle, fluttery kind of magic. It's doing the kind of magic that changes you. The kind that doesn't sparkle. It stares back. And if episode 14 was the threshold, the door cracking open, the blood moon calling you toward becoming, then tonight is what happens when you actually take the step. Tonight is descent with purpose, desire with discipline, beauty with backbone. A queen doesn't rise because she feels ready. She rises because she's done negotiating with her own power. So let's talk about the sky as it truly is on March 8th, 2026. The astronomy, the astrology, and the symbolism that fit this episode like a crown. Tonight, the moon is waning gibbous, about 76% illuminated, which means she's past full. She's still bright, she's still visible, she's still powerful, But she's no longer in the build phase. She's in the release phase. This is moonlight that doesn't ask you what you want. It asks you what you're willing to shed to get it. And the moon is in Scorpio, which is, how do I say this delicately? Scorpio is not here to play nice. Scorpio is underworld energy, not spooky aesthetic underworld, real underworld. We're talking grief, desire, transformation, endings that become beginnings, truth that won't be sweetened, power that cannot be performed, only embodied. A Scorpio moon doesn't care how you look while you're healing. She cares whether you're telling the truth. This is Persephone energy. This is Inanna energy. This is the part of the story where the surface world stops being enough, where you go down not because you're broken, but because something in you refuses to stay unclaimed. Now let's talk about the main event. Tonight, the sky gives us a rare and striking conjunction. Venus and Saturn appear extremely close, about 1 degree apart, low in the western sky, shortly after sunset. Venus is bright, easy to spot. Saturn is fainter, more subtle, but together, they make a statement. And astrologically, they're in Aries, which matters, because Aries is the first sign, the spark, the I am, the beginning. So what does it mean when Venus, love, value, beauty, desire, meets Saturn, structure, commitment, boundaries, consequence? In Aries, it means your desire is no longer a daydream. It's a decision. It means what you love must be built, not just felt. It means you don't get to want your life. You have to claim it. Venus says, this is what I want. Saturn says, then prove it. Not through suffering, through consistency, through choosing the same truth tomorrow that you chose today. This is queenship energy. Not, I feel powerful when the playlist hits. Real queenship. Boundaries, responsibility, devotion to your own becoming. The willingness to disappoint people who preferred you smaller. Venus conjunct Saturn is the crown. Not the sparkly one, the heavy one. The one that changes your posture. And here's a delicious little astronomy detail. Even though Venus and Saturn are astrologically in Aries, they appear in the sky against the backdrop of the Pisces constellation, which is poetic as hell. Because Pisces is the last sign, the ending, the dissolving, the sea. Aries is the beginning, the spark, the first breath. So tonight the sky is literally showing you the end and the beginning touching. The old world behind you, the new world in front of you, and you standing right in the middle. Threshold witch. Now let's talk about Mercury, because Mercury is doing something very on theme tonight. Mercury is nearly impossible to see. It's passing between Earth and the Sun, an inferior conjunction, which means it's swallowed by solar glare. The messenger is hidden. The voice is internal. This is not a night for loud announcements. This is a night for private truth, for the kind of knowing that doesn't need witnesses to be real. Mercury hidden is secrets surfacing, intuition getting louder, conversations you have with yourself that change everything. The realization that you already know what you need to do. And if you've been waiting for a sign, Mercury says the sign is that you can't unknow what you know anymore. Look higher in the sky and you'll see a steady, bright presence, Jupiter, shining like a confident star high in the evening sky, near the Gemini twins, Castor and Pollux. Jupiter is the planet of growth, but Jupiter doesn't grow you through comfort. Jupiter grows you through expansion, through choice, through daring, through saying, I will not live half a life just because it's familiar. And in an episode about Persephone and Inanna, Jupiter near the twins feels like a message about duality. The self you were, the self you're becoming. The one who stayed silent, the one who speaks now. The one who survived, the one who reigns. Both are you, but one is rising. Late at night, the moon rises in Scorpio near the red star Antares. Antares is often called the heart of the scorpion. And if you've never seen it, it's the kind of star that looks alive, a red ember in the sky. And I love that detail tonight because Antares is a reminder. Even in darkness, there is heat. Even in dissent, there is life. Even in grief, there is power. The underworld is not the end of you. It's the part of you that makes the return inevitable. And tonight in the United States, something else happens. Daylight savings times begins. At 2 a.m., the clock jumps to 3 a.m. We lose an hour. Time shifts. And I know some of you hate this, and honestly, fair. But symbolically, it's perfect. Because this episode is about what happens when you descend and return crowned. And tonight, the world itself does a small ritual. It springs forward. Even time agrees. Something is changing. We are moving toward light. We are moving toward spring. We are moving toward the season of return. So what does this mean for you, my witch? It means the underworld isn't a punishment. It's a place of truth. It means the Scorpio moon is pulling you into honesty. What you want, what you fear, what you're done tolerating, what you're ready to claim. It means Venus and Saturn are crowning you with a new kind of love. Not the love that begs, the love that chooses. Not the love that performs, the love that commits. Not the love that waits for permission, the love that builds a life. And Mercury hidden says you don't need to explain yourself to people who benefit from you staying small. You need to be honest with yourself because the queen you're becoming, she's not coming to ask. She's coming to take her seat. If you want a small ritual tonight, here's one that fits this sky perfectly. Number 1, light a candle. Number 2, put one hand on your throat, one on your chest. Number 3, speak this aloud. I have descended. I have survived. I have returned with truth in my mouth. I will not shrink to be chosen. I will choose myself. Then write one sentence. My crown is made of, and fill in the blank. Maybe it's boundaries. Maybe it's softness. Maybe it's grief transmuted into wisdom. Maybe it's survival turned into sovereignty. And then close it with this. I rise as queen. No audience required. Tonight's sky is underworld and crown at the same time. Scorpio moon is descent. The Venus-Saturn conjunction is queenship. Mercury hidden is an inner truth. Time shifting forward, the world turning toward light. And if you're still in the dark season of your life, if you're still in the I don't know who I am anymore chapter, hear me. Spring isn't coming because you earned it. Spring comes because cycles are faithful. And so are you. You descended. You survived. Now rise, crowned. All right, weird ones, welcome to the part of the episode where we stop talking about transformation like it's an idea and start eating it like it's a vow. Tonight's kitchen witchery is queen food. Not fancy for Instagram food, not perfect pastry chef food. This is I survived my descent and I came back with boundaries food. This is softness with teeth food. This is I can be sweet and still be sovereign food. We're making lemon pomegranate scones, bright, sharp, spring light wrapped around underworld jewels. And before we begin, the Raven rule stands. This is optional magic. If you're not baking tonight, you are not failing the ritual. You can make tea and eat toast like it's holy. You can eat a granola bar in your car like it's an offering. You can do this entire spell with one deep breath and the decision to stop abandoning yourself. But if you are baking, let's bake a crown you can hold in your hands. And because I love you and I refuse to make you rewind me like a gremlin, the full recipe will be available on Pinterest. First, the ingredients. The dry ones are 2 cups of all-purpose flour or a gluten-free 1-to-1 blend, 1/4 cup sugar, 1 tablespoon baking powder, half a teaspoon of salt. For the fat, you want a half a cup of cold butter cubed or vegan butter. The wet ingredients are a half cup of heavy cream or coconut cream or even oat cream, 1 egg or a flax egg, 1 teaspoon vanilla extract, the zest of 1 lemon, 2 tablespoons lemon juice. You'll want to add in, as your choice for crown jewels, option A, fresh pomegranate, which are juicy, dramatic, blood jewel energy, about a half a cup. Option B, dried pomegranate, is a cleaner bake with less bleed. Also use about a half a cup. Or option C, dried cranberries, which are easy, accessible, and still underworld red, and also use a half a cup of these. For the optional glaze, you'll want a half a cup of powdered sugar and 1 to 2 tablespoons of lemon juice and 1 teaspoon of honey or maple syrup. Let's look at the magical correspondences of these ingredients. First, pomegranate, underworld wisdom, sacred bargain, power reclaimed, the seed you chose, and the throne it bought you. Lemon zest is clarity, awakening, the first light after descent, spring returning to the bones. Butter is softness without surrender, richness, pleasure that doesn't require permission. Cream is nourishment, devotion to the self. I will care for what I am becoming. Sugar is joy without apology, sweetness that is earned, not begged for. Honey is the sweetness of survival, the reward of persistence, the warmth that returns when you stop abandoning yourself. And salt are your boundaries, protection, the sacred no that makes room for your sacred yes. Scones have one sacred rule. Keep your butter cold, and don't overmix the dough. Scones are a commitment ritual. You treat them gently, and they rise soft and royal. You manhandle them, and they come out like sad little hockey pucks. So, reverence, not aggression. First, preheat. Preheat your oven to 400 degrees Fahrenheit or 205 degrees Celsius. Line a baking sheet with parchment. Next, mix your dry ingredients. In a large bowl, whisk together the flour, sugar, baking powder, and salt. Third, you want to cut in the butter. Add cold cubed butter and cut it into the flour using your fingers or a pastry cutter until it looks like coarse crumbs. Whisper, "I keep what is sacred cold until it's time to rise." Fourth, you want to mix the wet ingredients. In a separate bowl, whisk the cream, egg, vanilla, lemon zest, and lemon juice. Fifth, combine gently. Pour the wet into the dry and stir just until it comes together. Do not overmix. Fold in your chosen add-ins, whether it be the fresh pomegranate or the dried pomegranate or the dried cranberries. Sixth, shape the crown. Turn the dough onto a lightly floured surface. Pat into a circle about 1 inch thick. Cut into 8 wedges. Seventh, bake. Place the wedges on the baking sheet and bake for 15 to 18 minutes until golden at the edges. Let cool for about 5 to 10 minutes. Now for your glaze, mix the powdered sugar with lemon juice until smooth. Add honey or maple syrup if desired. Drizzle over the scones like a blessing you no longer need to earn. Place 1 scone on a plate. Hold it for 1 breath and say, "I do not rise by accident. I rise by choice. I rise because I am done negotiating with my own power." Now take the first bite in silence. Let it be the moment you stop bargaining with your becoming. Not a performance, not a promise to the world, a vow to yourself. If you have extras, wrap them individually and freeze them. Future you deserves queen food too. Reheat one on a hard day and call it what it is, a reminder that you already survived the descent. Take a breath with me, weird ones. In and out. Good. Tonight we walked with 2 queens, Persephone, who descended and did not disappear, Inanna, who passed through 7 gates and returned with nothing left to prove. And if their stories stirred something in you, I want you to hear this clearly. You are not too much for being changed by what you've survived. You are not weak because the underworld marked you. You are not behind because you had to fall apart to find your shape. That's initiation. That's the sacred physics of becoming. Because here's the truth nobody tells you until you're already bleeding from the effort. You do not rise because life was kind to you. You rise because you refused to stay unclaimed. The underworld isn't a punishment. It's a mirror. It shows you what's real. It strips away what was never yours. It burns the costume off your skin. And when you return, you don't return as the person who entered. You return crowned, not with perfection, with truth. Not with everyone's approval, with your own sovereignty. So if you're standing in a hard season, if you're in the part of the story where you feel stripped, quiet, tender, or raw, let this be your reminder. The gates are not here to destroy you. They are here to reveal what cannot be taken from you: your voice, your will, your devotion to your own life. Your crown isn't waiting at the end of the road. Your crown is forged in the walking. So tonight, I want you to make one small vow. Nothing dramatic, nothing performative. Just one true thing you will no longer abandon in yourself. Maybe it's your boundaries. Maybe it's your rest. Maybe it's your joy. Maybe it's your desire. Maybe it's your honesty. Name it, and then speak this aloud. I rise as queen, not because I am fearless, but because I am finished shrinking. That's it. That's the spell. And if you want to keep walking deeper into these themes with me, if you want the long form reflections, the mythic deep dives, the unpacking of what these stories mean in real human life, I write about each episode on Facebook, and I go further there. Same voice, same reverence, just more room to stretch out. Until next time, weird ones, hold your crown gently. Wear it like truth. If tonight stirred something in you, if a story caught, if a ritual settled into your bones, if a truth followed you into the quiet, that's the work. Quarter 2 is about thresholds, and thresholds aren't destinations, they're decisions. If you'd like to keep walking with me between episodes, you can find Raven's Lorecast on Facebook, Blue Sky, Twitter, Pinterest, and TikTok. You can find me on Instagram at ravens_lore_cast. These are where the conversation continues, the visuals unfold, and the circle stays open. If you're called to go even deeper, the Patreon door is there when you're ready. No pressure, no chasing. Just another threshold you can step through when it feels true. Until next time, wit, wisdom, witchcraft. See you at the doorway, my weirdlings.